Hello, Millie Welsh from ZebraLove Web Solutions, and this video series goes through all of the steps that you need to know if you are building a website for the first time. This series is for anybody who is building a website for the first time for themselves, and also for people who are hiring a company to build the website for them. Essentially, it's a step-by-step that just explains the process. So let's talk about the first step in building a website for the first time. So the first thing that you're going to need is a domain name. A domain name is essentially just the name of your website, and you're going to need at least one domain name to build a website. You can register your domain name at a domain registrar like GoDaddy, Network Solutions, Hover. I'm sure you've heard of a few of these companies before. There are a few different strategies that people use when picking out a domain name. One thing that I highly recommend is just using your official business name for your domain, but you can also consider using words that people might search for when they're looking for a website like yours on Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Keep in mind that you can have more than one domain name going to the same website, so it is possible to employ both strategies. If you want to learn more about just domain names, go ahead and click on the upper right, and that'll take you to a video series that goes very in deep about just domain names. So step 2 in building a website for the first time is figuring out your approach. Are you going to hire someone to build the website for you, or are you going to build it yourself? Today, with all the platforms that they have and website builders, it is possible for you to build your own website without having to code. You can use a platform like Wix or Squarespace, or if it's e-commerce, something like Shopify. You could also use software like WordPress that has a lot of commercially available templates. If you're a business and you can afford to do so, I highly recommend getting a professionally built website. But if you're just getting started or an art-based business, I think building it yourself is a great start. When your business gets to a certain size, it actually costs you more money to build and maintain your website. Plus, you actually get a lot more traction out of a website that's professionally built. But hey, if you can't afford to right now, having a website at all is a lot better than not having one. Step 3 of building a website for the first time is figuring out where you're going to host it. Basically, your website needs to live somewhere, and web hosting is like rent for your website. If you're using a platform like Squarespace or Shopify, you can skip this step because your web hosting comes with your monthly fee. If you're having a company build the website for you, I highly recommend going with whatever hosting they suggest. For example, at ZebraLove Web Solutions, we do our own hosting, and it's much easier for us to maintain and manage your website if you host with us, and therefore it's actually a little bit cheaper if you do it that way. If you're building the website yourself with software like WordPress, this becomes more of a consideration. I will say that some of the best known hosting companies are not always the best when it comes to like customer service or resources, so just make sure to look at the reviews before signing up. Step 4 in creating a website for the first time is determining what content you're going to have on your website. And this includes your navigation, also taking into consideration what people search for when they're searching for a site like yours, and then also what you want them to do once they get there. I will say that determining what keywords people are searching for and then also having good calls to action is probably the number one thing that gets missed in the process of building a website, and it's actually the most important. At this stage, it's really important to think about the website from the visitor's perspective. Remember, they're not going to understand industry jargon. They're not experts. That's why they're searching for you. Once you think that through, you can start thinking about what pages you'll have on the website and what keywords you're going to optimize for. Lastly, I said it before and I'll say it again, have a clear call to action. What is it that you want people to do on the website? If they want to take a step and get in touch with you, make it very clear how to do that. Step 5 in building a website for the first time is building out the design. I do feel like the design of your website should, speak to who you are as a business or a person. Generally, you're going to want something that looks nice with your logo if you have one. And if you are hiring a web development company to build the website for you, you do largely get to skip this process, but it's important to really communicate what, aesthetic you're looking for. If you're using a website template, you're more or less just picking something out, but usually you can alter the fonts or the colors and have fun with it that way. A couple of really important considerations that go with the design is, one, does it look great on mobile? It needs to, because that's how most of your traffic is going to come in. It's also really important to make sure that your website is ADA compliant. ADA stands for Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's just really important to make sure that your website is accessible to people with disabilities. There's some free online tools you can use to make sure that your website is compliant. A couple of the big things, like you don't want to have like flashy things on your website. You don't want to use contrasting colors. You want to make sure all the description text is filled in your images. That's like your alt tags and your title tags. And it's actually good to do this anyway because, all the things that make a website ADA compliant also make it do better with search engines. If you have a tricky navigation, make sure that you also have a sitemap so all of your pages are listed on one page. That often can help make it easier for people to navigate. Long story short, the design of your website should speak to your character, but also be really easy for all people to use. Step 6 of building a website for the first time is testing and doing a soft launch. This is the stage where we're just about done. Our content's in, our design's looking good, it's time to button everything up. We're gonna check our links, we're gonna check our contact forms, and make sure all of our call to actions are working. A lot of times in a soft launch, you're actually launched, so people could go on and see the site, but you're not promoting it yet. You're gonna grab your pickiest friends and give them the link to the website. And I'm not talking about your easygoing, friends who think everything you do is wonderful. You need those people with attention to detail. This is what they're good at. They can check the grammar. They're gonna check all the links. They're gonna see if everything makes sense. You don't have to make every change that they come up with, but it's really important to get especially a picky person's perspective on what your website looks like. Step number 7 in building a website for a first time is launching. Hooray! So our website is available for people and we are actively trying to promote it and drive traffic to it. So we're going to put our link to our website on social media. We're going to make sure all of our social media profiles have the link to the website to them also. If you already have an existing client base, it's a really good idea to send out a newsletter announcing the new website on MailChimp or Constant Contact. So you might be thinking phew, that's all done. I'm all done with my website. But no, it's not true. You are never done with your website. In order to have a successful website, you need to be adding content constantly to it. In the form of blog posts, maybe new pages, maybe frequently asked questions, like adding those questions that you get on a daily basis. Think of your website as a living organic thing. It needs to be nourished. Adding content to your website is like any good habit. You just, you figure out a way to fit it into your schedule and just try to do it as often as you can, even if it's just once a month. Once you put up new content on your website, make sure to push it out to social media and send it out as a newsletter. And over time, you'll build a following and you'll have a more successful website. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this video helped you understand all the steps to creating a website for the first time. If you want to learn more about ZebraLab Web Solutions, you can head on over to zebralabwebsolutions.com. All right, talk to you later. Bye.